Hey, Mrs. Langdall.
I should open my mouth and say Flowers for Algernon is a play about a man named Charlie Gordon who undergoes experimental surgery which increases his intelligence artificially. Thank you.
Anyways, so, this is a play by Daniel Keyes. Adapted to it's a book by Daniel Keyes, adapted to this play by David Rogers. And I play Rose.
I play Charlie Gordon.
He's probably be an usher.
Yeah.
Anyways, come see it. Second and third week of May. Let's discuss.
Yeah. All right. So Charlie starts out the play with a IQ of 68, which is for legal and medical terms, he's mentally retarded, and that's referenced like many times throughout the play.
Quoted even.
Yeah, and then towards before the end of Act 1. So over the course of I think it's like 2 months.
The whole play lasts over 9 months, which mirrors the gestation period of a child being born.
Is it 9 months?
Yes. I read an analysis of it.
Oh, okay.
I read an analysis.
No, not just an analysis, analysis.
So.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I learned a lot of rad stuff.
That's cool.
Like
a lot of rad stuff.
Rad stuff.
Oh, you didn't think of that yourself?
No, I found that on Schmoop.
I love Schmoop. I love Schmoop so much.
The Rose one I thought of on my own.
And
so let me tell you about the Rose one. So Rose, who I play, she her name's Rose, and Rose Gordon, his mother, and essentially it's like her name could you could infer, or you could just deduce, or you could wing it and say that she is like a rose.
A flower.
Because let's just keep these here.
Okay.
She blooms as she gets older, and first has Charlie, but then as Charlie, like the weather, withers her away, she begins to become older and more withered, and basically at the end of the play, she's like literally crazy. And
it's implied that she has like dementia or something.
Yeah, and I think Alzheimer's as well. Yeah. But basically, she goes in and out of these cycles where she's like, my son was a genius, and that she doesn't recognize him. To what are you doing here? Get out of here! And she's like threatening him with a knife, and that's the second time she threatens him with a knife. And it's
that we see, at least
that we see, and it's like very suggested. Not even suggested. It literally says that Rose beat him unconscious, almost unconscious with a belt, and like that was often that she abused her son, but never her daughter. And then one of the big things is like there's the scene where Norma is asking for the dog, and she's
yeah.
I'm asleep for that scene, aren't I?
You're not asleep. You're watching
from my bed. Yeah.
Oh, so I guess it could be a dream.
Yeah.
But it's like Norma when Matt, her father, Charlie, and Norma's father and Rose's husband, is like, you can't have a dog because your mom said Charlie couldn't have a dog. And then she's like, I hate you. I'm going to stop studying. I'm going to stop doing my homework in school. I'm going to forget everything and I'll become a dummy like him.
Yeah.
And it's basically like, it's the only time that Charlie's disability is ever like praised or thought of in a positive light, because Norma like wants this recognition from her parents that she doesn't receive because.
But even then, it's like it's with a grain of salt because she only wants it because his disability like makes him unable to learn.
Yeah,
and he gets more attention than her.
Yeah, well, and that's like
which is also interesting because she's the younger sibling. Like you would assume that the younger sibling would get more attention, you know.
But he's mentally the younger sibling because he's so much lower.
Well,
mentally,
it's like at the age of 32, he still has like the mental capacity of a 9-year-old.
Yeah. And
Norma's she's around 10 when she gets the dog.
Yeah.
So.
But another thing is that like you could argue that Norma is really like a big what's the word, like
a catalyst for change.
I was gonna say for nonconformity. That's one of the things I wrote about, that like she is trying to be different, but like Charlie, so that because Charlie's different, he gets more attention. So if Norma becomes different and is like Charlie, then she'll get more attention as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, I thought that was interesting. I'm cold.
Yeah. Is that window? No.
No.
So, and like throughout the one of the main descriptors of like early Charlie is that he's nice and he's kind and he cares about people.
Yeah.
And his mother always told him to do good and always be kind.
Yeah.
But be careful because people might think he was making trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, because he's just described as a genuinely nice person.
Yeah.
But like as he realizes that people have been like mean to him his whole life, he starts becoming more cruel. So there's a scene...
And more like everyone else.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Like, he begins to reciprocate the way people have treated him.
And he becomes more cynical.
It almost shows that, like, with intelligence comes, like, disdain and, like, distrust.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, not even disdain and distrust. It's like he emotionally couldn't comprehend why they were doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't realize that some people are just cruel for the sake of cruelty.
Because there's that scene where they have that party for Charlie, and Joe sends him to go buy meat.
The other party for... Yeah,
the
to go
first
for
party.
sandwiches.
To go buy...
There's a character named Joe, and he's not played by Joe.
No.
Joe plays Bert.
Joe plays Bert.
I'm so
Calvin
upset.
plays Joe.
Oh, man.
And then it gets confusing during rehearsal. But then he sends Charlie to go buy meat, and then they all leave to go party at
Luigi's.
Some like diner where they say like there's always something happening at
There's
Luigi's.
always action at Luigi's.
And then like Ellen, who was it Ellen? No,
Ellen's the one that dances with Charlie.
Yeah, because Joe gets Ellen to
Yeah.
dance with Charlie, and then it's awkward, and then they leave, and then Charlie comes back, and he's sad.
Yeah, because who wouldn't be?
Yeah, he said
and
I.
Then, did I say I? Oh.
Because who wouldn't be?
Oh. And then there's another party scene, which is like, it's a really interesting transition for Charlie, because it's after he's been, like, disillusioned to the way that people treat him.
And he's like at a 185 IQ by this time, right? This is the one that...
He's supposedly beyond 150, like by the end of...
Is this the one with, like, Paige in it?
Yeah, Needles. Yeah, of course. So there's a part where Charlie talks to the wife of one of the main doctors who did the surgery. He talks to Professor Niemer's wife, and the thing with Professor Niemer is that he
thinks of Charlie as like an animal, like doesn't really, even in the book.
He's like really cold, right?
And in the book more than even in the play. But in the play, it's less implied that Niemer doesn't like Charlie, but in the book, it's like heavily implied that. First of all, he doesn't even think of him as a person. Because, like, it's Strauss who is like, we need to think about him emotionally.
Strauss and Bert, yeah. So I wrote about that in one of my metacognitives. I was doing the character analysis. And I said that Niemer, in a way, can represent, like, the human superego. Like, the ideal self. Or at least, like, searching for the ideal self. Because that's his whole thing, is he wants to perform this operation. Strauss says it, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it's like... He mentions Charlie being the first of Niemer's new race of hyper-intelligent humans. So it's like Niemer's playing God, and he doesn't like that Charlie can now play God.
And that's like the main theme in Flowers for Algernon is like not like that you can't play God because they try and fix Charlie, and then it doesn't go successfully.
It doesn't work anyway because he diverges back into like his
he regresses
self,
to like worse than he was before even
because
he has to be sent back to Warren.
But it's funny because in the novel he signs himself back up to go to Warren. He does it himself, and he ends the relationship with Alice because he doesn't believe. And there's this whole character named Faye Philman, who it's like Alice is like, I can't be with you, but I can't be with Charlie, so you need to go find someone else, Charlie. So Charlie goes to this park and finds this woman named Faye, and I read about this in analysis, because I was like, who's Faye? Because I kept seeing Faye. And, analysis. And basically Faye is this woman who is like, hey, Charlie, want to have sex? And he's like, sure. And then they have sex, and he doesn't, because like with Alice, when anything gets sort of sexual, he remembers his mother saying like,
stay away from girls.
You got to keep away from girls. You go near a girl, I'll put you in a cage for the rest of your life.
Yep.
But like with Faye, he doesn't feel that because he doesn't have any actual emotions for her. It's just purely sex. And so Alice like meets Faye and like wishes that there's like a quote that she has where she's like, I wish she was awful. I wish Faye was awful so that I could tell you shouldn't be with her and that you should be with me. But Faye is like this really like laid back, chill, funny, like nice girl, except I think I was reading that Faye tells Charlie she's pregnant, and then Charlie, not with Charlie's kid or anything, I should have, but then Charlie has those flashbacks of Rose, mom, coming home with a baby, and then he can't be with Faye anymore because he's having the same, like different than with Alice, but it's still like that
different
fear.
Trigger, same reaction.
Yeah, but it's like a different fear for him from his mother.
Yeah, he's super afraid of like being in a relationship, you know, and he's afraid of girls because of how he was raised with his abusive mother, you know, and so that really influences the way he like views relationships as he grows more intelligent, you know.
What I was going to say earlier, there's a part of the party where he's like talking to Nemer's wife, and Nemer's wife is rude to Charlie because Charlie is now doing what her husband was doing, but better.
Yeah.
So.
And Nemer gets really mad about that because he's like, I created you and you're surpassing me.
Mm-hmm. So Bert pulls Charlie aside because he realizes that Charlie is like about to no longer be okay. So he pulls Charlie aside and tells him not to lose his temper. And Charlie says, and I quote, "I wasn't going to lose it. I was going to throw it away." Which is like, to me, it's a really important turning point for his character because he goes from this like nice, amiable, charming, funny synonyms guy to like a jerk basically, where he acknowledges that what he was about to do is like wrong, like morally, but he's just like, I was going to do it because there was no other option that I saw. Because like he could have just been nice and like, yes, Mrs. Nemer, I agree, work is rough. But no, he was going to yell at her and just cause a scene.
Because he's smart enough to recognize it. Yeah.
Now, which is, it's probably something along, like, also that he never had this ability beforehand, so he's, like, trying to make up for lost chances
and
to stand up for himself.
He, like, cognitively recognizes that the things that have happened in the past, like, happened.
Are garbage.
Well, are garbage, and because he didn't, like, understand it to be able to, like, respond, you know? And so, like, looking back on that now, he's, like, a super, like, conflicted character, because he sees all these other people around him that aren't the same as he viewed them once, you know? So he's changing as they are changing for him.
And also, like, when he gets fired from the... I'm really ruining the whole...
It's fine.
But when he gets fired from the bakery, like, that's a big
And then when there's the actual fire, like the town burns down...
That doesn't happen.
I was just trying to think.
And when Charlie commits mass murder, just crazy event happens.
None of that happens.
There's not even a play, honestly.
But one of the things is, like, he gets fired from the bakery that, like, he was told, like, you will always have a place here, right, Mrs. Donner? Like, you will always have a place at this bakery for as long as you need it. But then she, like, Mrs. Donner is like, you don't need to be here. Like, you're making more money being a scientist than you are making dough. And, like, that's, like, a big deal, though, for him to be fired.
There's no dough from dough.
And it's, like, a big deal for Charlie because it's, like, for 17 years he's been at this bakery.
Yeah.
And it's, like, 17 years ago Mr. Donner brought it to me.
Since he was 15.
Yeah. And then... But yeah, that's like a big turning point for Charlie as well because he's like, everything I've been doing is now over. Like, I don't have those friends I thought I had. First of all, because they're scared of me. And second of all, because I literally got fired.
Yeah, he's like a completely new person now, you know?
And he like has to start a new life. He moves to a completely different part of town, I believe.
Yeah.
Because...
With, what's her name? The Scottish lady. What's her name?
Mrs. Mooney.
Mrs. Mooney.
I think she's Irish, not Scottish.
Oh, Irish.
No, we were in Scotland for 2 weeks.
I was in Ireland for 3 days.
Ow.
But, yeah, I really like her as a character.
That's not the sound I wanted to make. Hey, Kai, I want to look up a couple questions about Flowers for Algernon so we can keep the flow going.
Boom shakalaka, I'm on it, boys.
All right.
I'll just talk about something while you're looking. Another thing that's interesting, at least in our version, which I don't know if is explicitly like described in the stage movement about Charlie walking inside the maze and being trapped within.
That is never a thing in the script.
Yeah. So in our version, to apply more symbolism and more thematic topics or something, I don't know what Kevin was going for, but everybody wears all black except for Charlie.
Yeah, they're in grayscale.
Yeah, we're in grayscale. Excuse me, we're not in all black. We're in gray and white and black. And except for Charlie, who's in color.
The only character who is wearing colored clothing. Yeah.
And as he conforms to society by gaining intelligence, he starts to lose his color and his imagination and his creativity, sort of a thing. And that's when he starts to wear, black and white like the rest of us. Until once you start going back down, you add color again?
There's only one point where I switch back costumes from like my nice suit, and that's at the very end. So I think that we're just gonna go back to what I was wearing at the beginning.
When you visit me, are you wearing the suit?
I'm wearing the suit, yeah.
Because you coming home is like mirroring you going back to your childlike tendencies and disability.
the first like big sign of regression happens during the party, the second party at Nemer's.
Yeah.
Because there is a point when Charlie does lose his temper, and then he immediately reverts back to the speech pattern that is shown at the beginning of the play, where he talks more like a child, like this, and his words are stuttery, and he has difficulty pronouncing bigger words.
Like hypothesis, and that's another part at the very end. He's saying, he's talking, and it's the mother's voice from off stage, and it's like it's going back to when it was little Charlie trying to read, and he's saying like, "See Jack, see, run Jack, see," and then Rose is like, "Try it again," and then he tries it again, and he gets it wrong. But that happens after Charlie tries to say the Algernon Gordon effect, a simple hype. Simple hype.
And he can't pronounce it anymore.
And then Rose goes, "Try it again," as in like, it's like, I think Charlie at this point is young enough that Rose still likes him, but Norma's been born, so it's like it's still before, or it's after she starts to beat him, because there was a line that says like, "You're lazy, I'll beat it into you." So it is after she started to become abusive, but before she's totally, "Get him out of here, I don't want him in my life." Did you find a question?
Yeah. So death and mortality, really important theme in this one.
So at the I can't remember where it is in the script, but there's a line where he goes, frick, I can't remember the exact wording. It's, "I see now that, we know now that the end of the maze holds death, but what truly defines me is the path I choose through the maze." Mm-hmm. And he's replaced the word maze with life, and that's it. Because it's like, as the great Mewtwo once said, it is what we choose. It is what, "I see now that the circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant. It is what one chooses to do with the gift of life that truly matters."
Yeah.
That's a good hook for an AP test.
Yeah.
We should find who wrote that.
It's from the Pokemon movie.
Right, but who wrote it?
It's just writing Mewtwo. But yeah, no, I just think it's important because Charlie, like, while he's dumb, he doesn't comprehend his own like death and mortality, because he doesn't see that far ahead. He's in the present, he's making dough. That's what he does.
Metaphorically, literally, theoretically,
spiritually,
evaluatively,
analysising.
But yeah, and then now that he becomes more intelligent, he starts to like recognize that this is something that will happen to him, and so he sort of becomes like hypersensitive to it almost. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really interesting.
There's the death of Rose's marriage, the death of Rose's mentality.
There's a lot of metaphorical deaths.
There's the death. Rose says, like, "Okay, I've sacrificed my life. I won't sacrifice my daughter's." Mm-hmm. And then there's the death of her, arguably the death of her love for Charlie.
This metaphorical death stuff is fine, but I was talking literally death.
Oh, well, then Algernon dies.
That's true.
And what is
Algernon represents Charlie?
What does he put on the grave?
Just some flowers for Algernon.
Flowers
for Algernon.
I wish we were right at 20.
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
This play is literally so sad. Like, it's so sad.
I was on the verge of tears, and the last art medium that made me cry was Big Hero 6.
I read it on that very couch.
I didn't cry.
When the explosion happened, I was like,
"Hey, we're not discussing that. That's
sorry.
Literary work, Big Hero 6.
That would be amazing. Yeah. But there's like Charlie realizes that once he regresses, that'll be the equivalent of him dying, because he won't be able to do anything with his life after using my keys.
No.
Because he won't be able to do anything with his life after that. Because he won't be able to function the same way he used to.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't because the place closes down, right? Because the bakery, or that he gets fired from it.
Yeah.
And so then he just goes back to the Warren home instead of going back to his
job.
Come on,
of course.
But I mean that he gets fired from his job.
Salesman.
His old job, his old life, that all dies. Yeah. And so he has to go back to the Warren home.
Except, and that's another really big point is when Charlie realizes what happens to him and Algernon once they're done. Mm-hmm. That Charlie gets sent back to the Warren home and Algernon gets frozen and incinerated.
But he specifically requested that Algernon be given to him upon Algernon's death, which is why he was able to bury him.
And
that must be a really nice apartment, because apartments don't have lawns. Big inner city apartments.
Yeah, it's true.
Ones that have the sun for 45 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 to 2:30. Yeah.
Well, this has been a very fruitful discussion.
Fruit like that which grows.
Algernon eats.
Well,
Eat cheese.
That's a fruit. Anyways. Okay, bye.
All right.
Love you, Mrs. Langdon.
Oh, wait.
20
Okay.
Okay, bye.